Did you really just report my doghouse to the HOA? That was the question burning on my tongue the day. I got a stern knock at my front door. The visitor wasn't Karen herself. No, that would have been too easy. It was an HOA inspector, clipboard in hand, telling me there'd been a formal complaint lodged against me. And what exactly was the heinous crime? A doghouse. Not some broken-down shack. Not an eyesore leaning sideways in the yard. Just a neat, sturdy little shelter I'd built for Duke, my golden retriever who thinks he runs this neighborhood more than the HOA board does. The inspector cleared his throat, eyes flicking between his notes and the doghouse in my yard. We've had a concern filed about a non-compliant structure. Non-compliant structure? For a doghouse? You know those moments when your blood pressure spikes. But you've got to keep a poker face. That was me, standing there while Duke sat proudly inside his little cedar palace, tongue lolling out like he knew the drama wasn't about to end here. Of course, I already knew who was behind it. Karen. Everyone has that one neighbor, the one who patrols the street, like it's a private military zone, the one who measures grass with a ruler, the one who can't stand to see other people just enjoying life. But here's the twist. This wasn't just about the doghouse. It was the start of a whole war. Because while Karen was busy complaining to the HOA about my illegal dog structure, her own daughter was sneaking into my property. Not just sneaking, taking selfies with my cows. Yep, my cows. Picture this. I look out across the pasture one afternoon and there she is, phone raised, striking poses with my dairy cows like she's shooting an influencer campaign. And she wasn't quiet about it either. Giggles, filters, dramatic angles. It was a full-blown photo shoot. Now, I could have stormed out there and told her to scram. But instead, I thought, two can play this game. So I fired up the manure loader. That's right, the big, noisy, heavy-duty beast of a machine that slings manure like it's a medieval catapult. And as she snapped her glamorous cow selfies, I eased the loader into frame, grinning like the devil himself, photobombing the whole scene. She didn't notice, not right away. But oh, when she checked her camera roll later, let's just say word spread fast. And that's when Karen really lost it. If you thought the HOA complaint was petty, you should have seen Karen the moment those manure loader selfies started circulating. It didn't take long. By that evening, her daughter had plastered them all over social media. Cows looking majestic, her posing like she was auditioning for a milk commercial, and me in the background with the loader raised high, a smirk plastered across my face. I don't think Karen was prepared for the speed at which screenshots spread in this neighborhood. People were laughing. Folks at the end of the cul-de-sac, people who usually keep to themselves. They all knew about it. By the next morning, my phone buzzed with texts from neighbors. Legendary move. Best photobomb I've ever seen. And the one that made me chuckle the most. That manure loader deserves its own Instagram account. But Karen, she was fuming. She came marching up my driveway in her oversized sunglasses, sun visor snapping down like a battle helmet. "This is harassment," she screeched, waving her phone at me like it was Exhibit A in court. "You invaded my daughter's privacy. Now I'm no lawyer. But I knew one thing. When someone trespasses onto my pasture without permission, they don't get to claim privacy rights." I reminded her of that. Calmly, of course. That only made her angrier. She jabbed a finger toward the doghouse. "And this eyesore is still a violation. The HOA will fine you if you don't take it down." Eyesore? This doghouse was nicer than some apartments I'd lived in during college. Solid cedar wood, waterproof shingles, proper ventilation, even a little porch for Duke to sprawl on. If anything, it improved the neighborhood. But that's Karen for you. Logic never stood a chance against her brand of suburban tyranny. Later that afternoon, the inspector returned. Same clipboard, same cautious expression. I could tell he was used to dealing with complaints, but he looked almost apologetic this time. He circled the doghouse, peered at the roofing, crouched to check the base, and finally let out a low whistle. "This," he said, patting the side like it was a brand-new sports car, is built to code. Honestly, it's better than some sheds I've inspected. She reported this? I nodded. He shook his head, scribbling a note. There's no violation here. If anything, the HOA should thank you for raising the bar. When Karen heard that verdict, the expression on her face was priceless, somewhere between swallowing a lemon and stepping on a rake. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The day after the inspector cleared me, the neighborhood felt different. Word spread quickly. Karen had tried to weaponize the HOA, and it had backfired spectacularly. People who normally whispered about her, behind closed doors now, chuckled openly when she passed. But if you know anything about a true Karen, you know humiliation only fuels the fire. She wasn't about to lick her wounds quietly. The very next morning, I spotted her sneaking along the property line with her phone out, zooming in on anything she could twist into a violation. Duke's water bowl? Snap. My fence post leaning a hair to the left? Snap. She even photographed my mailbox like it had personally offended her. I waved, of course. Nothing gets under her skin more than a cheerful greeting. Meanwhile, her daughter, clearly embarrassed about the selfie fiasco, hadn't been around. That was until one evening, just before sunset, when I heard the familiar hum of giggles drifting from the pasture again. Sure enough, there she was, phone in hand, determined to get a redo. This time, I didn't use the manure loader. I went bigger. See, parked behind? My barn was an old tractor fitted with a hay spear, ATE, massive prong jutting forward like a medieval jousting weapon. I drove it slowly into frame, waving like a parade marshal while she posed with my cows. And just like before, she didn't notice until later. The next morning, the new photos hit social media. And once again, the neighborhood had a field day. Comments poured in. Epic sequel. Manure loader was good, but that hay spear cameo? Chef's kiss. Karen stormed up my driveway not long after. You are stalking my daughter, she bellowed, red in the face. Ma'am, I said, holding back laughter. I don't even leave my property. If she'd like to stop being photobombed, she should stop trespassing. That truth stung. She sputtered, spun on her heel, and shouted back, This isn't over. And she meant it. Because the very next HOA meeting, she came prepared. She stood in front of the board with a stack of papers, dramatic as a courtroom lawyer. This man is a menace. He mocks my family, terrorizes my daughter, and builds unsanctioned structures in plain view. The board looked bored. One member even stifled a laugh. And when the inspector gave his glowing report of my to-code doghouse, Karen's theatrics collapsed into an awkward silence. But humiliation wasn't enough. She wanted revenge, and she had a plan. Karen's plan became clear a week later. One morning, I stepped outside to find a fresh stack of HOA, letters stuffed into my mailbox. 4 of them, all citing random concerns. Things like improper lawn edging, non-uniform bird feeder, and my personal favorite, doghouse, excessively decorative. Excessively decorative? That was a new level of nitpicking, even for her. Clearly, she'd pushed the board into letting her file complaints en masse. But here's the thing. Every single one required an inspection, which meant the poor inspector had to keep coming back, clipboard in hand, sighing more heavily each time. And every single time, the verdict was the same. Compliant, compliant, compliant. It got to the point where even the inspector started laughing. On his 4th visit, he muttered, She's wasting everyone's time, but honestly, this doghouse could win awards. Meanwhile, Karen's daughter had started laying low. The infamous cow selfies, complete with my photobombs, had turned into local legend. Kids at school were teasing her, good-naturedly, mostly, but it was enough to keep her off my property. No more secret photo shoots. No more hay spear cameos. Peace had returned to the pasture. But I wasn't done just yet. You see, HOA meetings are public, and that month, I showed up early with a little surprise. While Karen sat primly in her seat, ready to unleash another round of grievances, I pulled out a projector and displayed her daughter's selfies, complete, with my tractor and manure loader, photobombs, on the big screen. Gasps, Then laughter. Even the board members couldn't help but chuckle. I raised a hand. Just to clarify, these were all taken on my property, without permission. Now, I don't mind a neighbor enjoying the sight of my cows. But I think it's important we all remember, trespassing isn't exactly HOA business. Karen's face turned the color of a ripe tomato. She tried to argue, but the damage was done. The board officially dismissed her complaints as frivolous and reminded her that repeated false reports could result in fines. That was the end of her campaign. The doghouse stayed. Duke got his throne, my cows got their piece, and me? I got a reputation as the guy who stood up to the HOA tyrant and did it with style. And as for Karen's daughter, she eventually came by to apologize. I told her she was welcome to take cow selfies any time, as long as she asked first. But the manure loader? That stays parked nearby, just in case. Enjoying this wild suburban showdown? Hit that subscribe button to catch more unbelievable neighborhood stories. If you got a laugh or a little revenge inspiration from the garage and cow chaos, give this a like and drop a comment below. What would you have done if Karen came knocking at your property?